Hey everybody, thanks for joining me again. Hope you're all doing well. Today's lesson is going to be a really fun one. We're going to be using the Beatles song Don't Let Me Down as our platform for exploring more of those beautiful Motown, soul and R&B rhythm and lead fills. And there's even a jazz blues solo in the middle of it all. So a really good lesson full of tricks and tips that will help you with both your rhythm and lead chops alike. Lesson materials include tab and notation in Guitar Pro and PDF formats, as well as my backing track. You can get the materials for this and all of my other lessons by joining my Patreon at the link in the description. Or you can go to the Gumroad link if it's only this lesson that you're interested in. Either way, thank you for your support. So, similar to my Jolene lesson, we're going to start off by using the song's melody as our source of inspiration for ideas. The song, of course, starts with this iconic riff. We're going to play that with a collection of double stops instead, like this. So we're thinking E major chord, and we start by hitting its root note, and then we grab this double stop at the 7th fret of the D and B strings. I'm hybrid picking those together, then sliding up a whole tone to the 9th fret. And then we go on to the top two strings, double 7, double 9. Now those are from your E major pentatonic scale. If you've not seen them, do check out my videos on People Get Ready and my Motown and Soul lead study, where I go into some depth about those major pentatonic double stops. Then again we take that double 7 on strings D and B, hybrid pick them, slide up and reshape as you go, so you end up with 11 and 10 on the same two strings, and then double 9. To the whole phrase. Now we're simply going to quote the vocal melody in single note form. But before we do that, I think it's important to know that we're going to be playing it over these changes. F sharp minor, or F sharp minor 7, to E major. And the melody comes in on beat 3 and sits right on top of it. Now this, of course, is where your looper comes in really handy, so you can hear the melody with a little bit of context. 1, 2. Now I'm not going to break that melody down note by note, it's all typed up on the sheets in detail anyway, but I do want to point out that it's mostly derived from the E major pentatonic scale and the E major blues scale. And we're using a few simple techniques to add a touch of expressiveness to it, things like slides, pull-offs, vibrato, and this little double stop here. It's like an E sus4 to E major. Now into the next section, which in the song would be the verse, but we're calling it the B section. The chord progression is the same again, just F sharp minor to E. And we're actually going to play something very similar to what George Harrison actually plays on this. It's a really tasteful part, check it out. Same again. So we're starting with some double stops on the G and E strings, 14th fret to begin with. First of all, make sure that you can see that these are part of an F sharp minor triad, so it makes sense that we'd play them over the F sharp minor chord. Then we slide down and reshape as we go again. So we're ending up on 11 and 12 on the G and E strings. And then pull off to the 9th fret on that top string. Again, be thinking F sharp minor, whether that's a chord shape or a triad. Some way in your mind you want to be connecting these things to the chord underneath. And then these double stops on strings G and B. Frets 9 and 10, hammering onto 11 on the G afterwards. we're playing this nice melody, frets 11, 9 and 6, back to 9 on the G string, and then E major 7, top 3 strings 4th fret. This of course is the same thing as a G sharp minor triad, but you can see it as the top 3 strings of this E major 7 chord with the C shape, or the top 3 strings of the D shaped E major 7. And then we're adding this really nice E sus4 kind of vibe to it. Nice and jangly. So we've got F sharp minor, E, same again. So I think a nice way to look at this is that we're collecting our double stops from a couple of different pools. On one hand, you've got your E major pentatonic, which is mostly double stops in fourths. It's those fourths that give it that really smooth character. And on the other hand, you've got your E major scale, where you can get your double stops in thirds. Try it on different string sets. Also in sixths. I could go on for days about that stuff, and we haven't even touched on triads and arpeggios within the scale yet. But I would definitely recommend exploring the 2 areas of double stops, major pentatonic and the major scale. So with that in mind, for our C section, we're going to harmonise the melody in double stop form. 1, 2. Now for the D section we get to cut loose and have a bit of a blues jam. This is happening over what would be the bridge in the song, the bit that goes. Which really, when you get under the surface of all of that, it's just 2 chords, E to the B7. Back to the E, A, E. So like I say, we are going to cut loose and solo here, but we do get started by quoting the melody again. Bridge pickup. Which was all pretty straightforward, aside from that slidey double stop thing. 6 on the D and 4 on the G. Slide that 6 to 7, and then come back to 6 and pull off to 4. And now we get into our solo. At this point we're playing over the B7 chord. We're going to start with this slide into a double stop. 9 on the D, 9 on the B. So you've got the root and the 13, like a B flat dominant 13 sound. And then we go into this run that focuses heavily on the notes of a B7 arpeggio. this D string 9th fret as a pedal tone for a moment to bounce off before going to an enclosure around the major third, the 4th, the flat 3 and the 3rd. We know that that minor to major third is a huge part of the blues sound, don't we? And then we come down what looks like a G sharp minor triad, but in this context we're thinking of it as a B13 again. The 3rd, the root and the 13, or the 6th. Slide to the flat 7, and then another one of those enclosures, 4, flat 3, 3. Finishing with the root, flat 7, root. So again, you can clearly see that we're focused on that B7 chord sound. Now we're still on B7, and I'm actually thinking of a fairly common Charlie Christian shape next. It's what people call a 3 to 9 arpeggio. It gives us the sound of a B9 chord. Check out some of my Charlie Christian videos if you want to see more detail on that kind of a concept. This time I'm just putting in that chromatic passing note again, minor to major third, and then using that same passing note to go down to the 9. And then we grab the root and the flat 7 of our B7, and then bringing in that 6th or 13th again, and coming down to the major third of the B7. And then we do one of these really trendy little bendy slidey things, where you're bending the 6th or the 13th up to the flat 7 and then bring it back, but then slide to the flat 7 and back. Pull off to 7 on the B. And then really coming down like the B minor blues scale, right? But we are making the effort to bend towards that major third. And then we resolve to our E chord, where we play some E major pentatonic. And that last note has one of those raked bend techniques on it that I've spoken about in depth in my Chicago blues lesson, where you're killing all of the strings leading up to the target string and dragging the pick through them to create that nice aggressive bark on the front end of the note. Now, of course, one of the most important things in this entire piece is your rhythm and time feel and your ability to play in the pocket. And one of the best ways you can hone those skills is by practicing with a metronome. So I'm going to play that solo part of the D section at a slightly slower tempo of 72 beats per minute, and I'm going to focus on locking in with the beat. 3, 4. Now to close out, we go back to another chorus, and we're going to play the vocal melody again, but this time in octave form. So set up this shape here at the 9th fret of the A string and the 11th fret of the G string. I recommend 1st and 4th finger, but you can use 1st and 3rd if you prefer. The main point is to kill that middle string and everything else. Make sure the only two active strings are the A and G strings. And then we're going to play this. So sliding up a whole tone and then coming back, and then we go all off one strike there. Slide up a whole tone, back, and then down to the 4th fret. We're just following the melody. A big part of that octave sound is the inclusion of those muted strings, so do make sure you're hitting them all. If you're not striking all 6 strings, it's because you don't trust your left hand to mute the unwanted notes. And that's definitely something worth working on. And then we play. So we move down to the bottom strings, 9 and 11, sliding down a whole tone. And then we do that whole thing 1 octave higher. And then a bit of variation. So notice that on the top strings, your octave shape is just 1 fret wider. So you're still missing a string in between, but you want to miss 2 frets in between. Whereas on the lower strings, miss a string and miss 1 fret. Same applies to the D and B strings. And again, it's important that you can learn to do these while muting out the unwanted notes around them. And the final phrase is a callback to the one that kicked us off. And there we have it, a Motown, soul, R&B, Stax, Muscle Shoals vibe lesson in rhythm and lead fills, using the Beatles song Don't Let Me Down as the framework. I'd recommend that you take this kind of approach to working on anything. Pick a song that you like and have a certain concept in mind, sort of give yourself a mission brief, and apply those ideas to it. It's a good way to learn these things and get them in your vocabulary. So we've spoken a bit about technique there, but now let's turn our focus to the gear just for a moment. This is my Gibson ES335. This is a 2013 63 reissue. It was part of the 50th anniversary, and it's a really nice guitar. Needs a refret though. I have a set of the Sun Bear 59 PAF pickups in here. They're really nice low wound pickups, and they have a lot of top end clarity, which was missing previously in this guitar. The strings are 11 gauge DR Pure Blues. I prefer 11s on this guitar. Feels a bit more akin to the 10s on the Telecaster. Now, as usual, I'm confusing things here by using different setups for the lesson versus the performance, but the original performance of this that you saw at the beginning of this video, I was using my Brown Amps Protein pedal for the overdrive tones. The blue side for most of it, which is their carbon pedal essentially, and then the green side, their atom pedal for the blues jam in the middle. Whereas for this lesson today, I'm plugged into the Mad Professor Royal Blue overdrive pedal with the gain set really low. And for the performance, I was using the Jam Pedals Harmonious Monk for a little bit of harmonic trem, but in the lesson I'm using my Strymon Flint for that kind of a sound. Also in the opening performance, the amp was my Lazy J20, whereas for this lesson I've been using the 69 Fender Deluxe Reverb. At least the plectrum was consistently the same though. Dunlop H3, the little purple ones. I think they're about 1.5mm thickness, Jazz 3 shape and size. So do remember that all of my lesson materials, past, present and future, are available over on Patreon, and we have a really big community over there now, over 800 members. It's a great place to be, very inspiring, and there's a lot of bonus content on there too, stuff that you won't see on YouTube. You can also go to the TidyCal link in the description if you want to book a private one-on-one Zoom lesson with me. And you can also visit my Gumroad store just to buy one-off transcriptions or lessons. Your support really means a lot to me, and it's what allows me to keep making these videos, so I really do thank you for that. So please let me know down in the comments if you've enjoyed this video, and please do hit the like button and make sure that you're subscribed. It makes a huge difference to this channel. Okay, so thanks so much guys. As always, it's been a pleasure, and I'll see you guys at the same time next week for something completely different. Right, take care.